Welcome to the Marshall Pruitt Podcast, presented by Cooper Tires. We have another special edition, rather than our usual Week in IndyCar series, to kick off the brand new year. Figure since everyone's probably sobering up a little bit, trying to convalesce before facing the new year, why not roll into what might have been my favorite live episode of 2018, and that was our Marshall Pruitt Podcast, the Week in IndyCar at Portland International Raceway. This was all thanks to the good folks at PIR, and also our ongoing and super awesome partners at Cooper Tires provided their stage. Had 100-plus IndyCar fans turn up, stayed late on a Saturday after all the running was done. Why? Well, probably wasn't because of me, but I would say that our lineup, the incredible 3-time Indy 500 winner, 4-time champion Dario Franchitti, 4-time Champ Car champion Sebastien Bourdais, plus the 2014 IndyCar Series champion and 2018 Indy 500 winner Will Power, along with our friend John Doonan from Mazda. This was Mazda's farewell, the Mazda Road to Indy. Final races played out at Portland, so we had John on talk about that amazing open wheel program that they've been a part of for so long and we're saying farewell to. We also started off with our friend E.C. Mueller, who is the president of the track and looks after Portland International Raceway. So altogether, lots of fun, great crowd interaction, and when you've got that caliber of guest on the stage with all the wins and all the character, we truly had a great time. Dario was in fine form, telling some amazing stories. Bourdais as well. We did have a little, I don't want to call it a technical issue, but with the sound system that we had there was nothing for me to plug into and record straight off of the mixer, so had to put my recorder on top of one of the speakers, so did our best here. Picks up a little bit more ambient sound than I would like, but again, doing our best to grab these live events and bring them to you here in podcast form. So hopefully enjoy this. Next week, when I get back from the Roar Before the 24 at Daytona, we will slide into our normal Week in IndyCar rotation with a brand new guest, and who knows what we will talk about there, but look forward to getting your questions, and look forward to getting the 2019 season of the Week in IndyCar underway. You know, you can get every episode of the Marshall Pruitt Podcast on iTunes, also on Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, you name it. We also have our Marshall Pruitt Podcast Facebook page where everything goes up the moment it is published. All right, let's get going with September. Beautiful Portland International Raceway, Cooper Tires stage, and all manner of awesome IndyCar champions and Indy 500 winners here on the Marshall Pruitt Podcast.
Dario, look at that. Here first. Well, the Scots early. Frenchman, who knows? Power, I did just get a text. He's asked if he could come in a little bit late. He's on pole, but he wants to spend more time with his engineer.
And less time with me.
You did work that boy pretty hard, but you did teach him how to become a champion.
Yeah.
Well, pull up a chair, whichever champion's prerogative here. We're also going to bring up your track's general manager, person directly responsible for helping make IndyCar come back, E.C. Mueller. Middle. Here? Yeah, you bet. All right. So the little format here, once we get everybody in, is I'll come out to y'all, and y'all ask questions. The more invasive, the more embarrassing, the better. But for now, while we're vamping a little bit, waiting for other friends, why don't we start off with EC? Give us your thoughts on turnout so far through 2 days. Better than expected?
Well, wait a second. Oh, my mic is on. I'm not working.
You got to pay for better mics. Come on, EC.
My mic. Okay. Well, let's ask these guys. Are you happy IndyCar's back in the Northwest? So I think we got an enthusiastic group, Marshall. Very, very, very happy to have the IndyCar series back. It's been almost 12 years. Last time they were here was 2007, so it's been a lot of time between then and now. All of you know that more than anyone. And I can't think of a better comment than at the autograph session yesterday when a driver said to me, "Did you really expect this many people on a Friday?" We didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you, but gosh, we're thrilled, and it's really terrific to have everybody here.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Mr. Franchitti, you used to go around here quick like a bunny. Care to share some Portland kart IndyCar thoughts with us?
Absolutely. Well, good evening. Was it evening? Yeah, good evening, everybody. How are we? We good? Yeah, when I think of Portland, I think of two incidents, none of which were pretty good. My first year here, Al Jr. and I got together in the chicane. He blamed me. I blamed him. I was a rookie. He was a multiple champion. Guess which one carried more weight? And then a couple of years later, I got in an argument with P.J. Jones. Several
Don't get
weeks
in an
before.
argument with P.J. Jones.
P.J. Jones is a big dude, and he can fight. So Montoya and I had been giving him a hard time about, we were coming up, we'd been lapping him, and he hadn't been getting out of the way, so I tried to lap him here, and he speared me off into the sleepers on the back straight, flat out. It's on YouTube, you should watch it. Anyway, those were some of the memories on track. I think I got a couple of trophies, because I was moving all my trophies the other day into order, and there was the lovely rows that used to get on the podium.
That thing about OCD we were talking about before you showed up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I did actually end up on the podium a couple of times, but I think my best memories here was being the Pacific Northwest. Everybody would come down from Vancouver. My buddy Greg Moore, who a lot of you know, he would bring all his friends down. His little brother James is here today, and his best friend Al Robb. But they would all come down. Greg would come down in some stupid car that was completely unsuitable. And a great friend of Greg's, Super Dave, invited us to his house, and we were shooting guns. I'd never shot guns. We don't have guns in Scotland, And I was shooting guns off the porch, and that was pretty exciting for a young guy from Scotland. So those are my Portland memories. Oh, my best friend Albert got married here just before my accident. It's the last thing I remember before my accident was being in Portland before for his wedding. I don't know if that was the alcohol or the concussion.
It might be a little bit of a softball, Dario, but this is my 30th year of coming to this track for a variety of events. I've only ever experienced love. Like, there's just so much warmth here. Has that been something you look forward to coming out each time?
I'd forgotten the enthusiasm and the warmth, and I'm not just blowing smoke here, from the race fans in the coming to Portland here, coming to Vancouver. The enthusiasm for the sport, but the warmth as well it's been really cool. So it's nice to be back. Hope we're back for many years to come.
So EC, one thing that we're enjoying this weekend as well, the Mazda MX-5 Cup cars, that is a group of insane individuals. I can guarantee there's a reason there are cages around them. But also the Mazda Road to Indy. We just crowned Pato O'Ward Indy Lights champion. That kid is a beast. Tell us about wanting to have not just IndyCar and maybe some lesser series, but some really important developmental series here too.
Well, I've had the privilege of being here for 4 years now, and when we came, one of our goals was to bring pro racing back. So we started with the typical, let's crawl, walk, run, but we went from crawl to run. So in 1 year, we were able to bring the Pirelli World Challenge here with our Rose Cup races in July. And then to have the IndyCars here just, 7-8 weeks later is pretty amazing. So we hope to keep that going. We have a very strong group of sports car racers. The unique thing about this facility is the variety of events. We've been doing drag racing since the 60s. We have the longest running motocross, weekly motocross in the United States. This is the 53rd year of Thursday night motocross. Bicycles, on-road, off-road. We have the Rugged Maniac obstacle course race here. And we have one of the largest swap meets in the United States in April, where we put 1,700 vendors around this racetrack. And it took till last week to clean up the oil from that. So it's a very diverse park, and it is a park, for those of you that do not know, this Portland International Raceway is owned by the city of Portland. We are what is called an enterprise fund. We do not receive any tax money. We are 100% self-sufficient. We are also very lucky to have an organization called Friends of PIR, which is a 501c3 that supports us. If you are not a member, we ask you to join. It does not cost you anything, but it will give you the inside track for things like IndyCar tickets. Their booth's just right down the road here on the other side of the bridge, so make sure you see them this weekend.
All right, I want to compliment the gentleman right here in the lawn chair with the Miller Despain 08 shirt. I got to get a photo of that from Miller. All right, well, I am vastly oversized, but we'll try and avoid knocking too many people over while fielding questions. Who has one for one of our two guests, and hopefully we'll have a few more. Raise a hand, Marshall. Do something near me, hopefully.
Right on the front.
Oh,
right here in the front.
Right.
Hang on.
Why is oh my god, that was so weird.
Come on up on stage, little man.
Why is PIR shaped like this?
That's a good
question.
question.
EC, why is it shaped like this?
For those of you that do not know, a city used to be here called Vanport. It was built in the 1940s to support Henry Kaiser's shipbuilding, to have workers have a place to live. The front straightaway is Cottonwood Road. The back straightaway is Victory Boulevard. Everybody thinks our address, 1940 North Victory Boulevard, is because we're a racetrack. No, it was Victory Boulevard in the 40s to win the war. So it really started as the streets of Vanport, and eventually over time morphed into what you have today. And you can go down to the tower, and there's two big placards on the tower with pictures and a map, and it tells the whole story of Vanport.
Who has a question? Somewhere over here. Come on forth. Hopefully we won't blow out the speakers.
This one's for Dario. So, assuming the drivers have a lot of pranks, so what was the best prank that you were either a victim of or, partook in?
A, there are children here. B, we need to get to bed at some point, because I know there's a whole book of pranks for you to write.
The sort of the prank time was really the Andretti Green days with Tony, Dan, Brian, and myself. And I'll just tell you, Brian Herta looks like he's kind of a quiet, self-effacing individual. Don't ever pull a prank on him, because the return fire is something. I guess the big one was the Weldon one when we got Dan in Japan. Dan was very particular about everything in life. Everything. The way everything, we would all travel with a hand luggage to Japan. He had to travel with a big bag because he had his hair care products, his skin products, his, God knows how many pairs of shoes, all this stuff. So Tony Kanaan went down to reception at Motegi. All the drivers stay in a hotel at the track. And so here's Seb here. He's on his way. And so Tony went down and said, "Hello, my name's Dan Weldon, I've lost my key." And the lady went, "Okay, there's a key." So we all piled in the room. We took his TV away. We took one mattress away. We took
Sebastien Bourdais, boys and girls. Amazing job recovering, qualifying fourth. I'm just trying to set you up. Sit down, you late bleeper.
Yeah.
You old French fry.
So, didn't you get a Rolex for winning Daytona?
The only thing I would say is the only guy who's on time is the guy who's not working today.
Hang on, are you on pole position? Well then, come on. I wasn't working as hard as your mechanics today.
And now you know why I asked these guys to be here.
Anyway, so then we went in the room and we took one of each of the shoes. I think it was the right side of the shoe. Poured all the hair care and skin products in the sink. Then this next part. Dry dock. Did you guys know what a dry dock is? Yeah, we did that. And then we turned the heat up, shut the door, and left. And we were in the next room. And the smell was something to behold. Anyway, but as Dan came down the corridor, you could hear, click, click, opens the door, and he just went on the limiter. He was shouting words I can't shout here because there's children present. And he demanded that we put everything back, and he was slightly upset with us. But anyway, he had the last laugh because he won the race that weekend, and we had to, pay the FedEx bill to get one of each of his shoes sent back.
question from this side. Question from this side. Come on up. Somebody, anybody. Here you go, my man. Wonderful shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
So, we all unfortunately saw what happened with Robert Wickens. There's been a lot of stuff on Twitter. I know you responded to Felipe Massa. How do you guys feel IndyCar truly is doing when it comes to safety these days?
And say hello to Will Power, your pole sitter. Fastest on the racetrack, slowest to the podcast. Will Power, boys and girls.
Well, he doesn't own a watch, so. Good job, mate.
Thank you.
So the question was, what's IndyCar doing? The Massa thing. Massa, like, I think all of us have been involved in some pretty hefty shunts. I just thought it was it was a comment that wasn't necessary because he doesn't understand what IndyCar is doing. He doesn't know, and we have a relatively small team of people who work really, really hard on safety in IndyCar, and it's not perfect, but they're trying really hard to make it better. And trust me, when somebody gets hurt, whether it was Seb at Indy or it was Wickens last week at Pocono, they take it personally. They really do. And so I felt it was wrong. But IndyCar's working really hard at it. I think we're all in agreement. There's got to be a better answer than the current fence system. And yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think it's a really touchy subject, obviously. But to say that IndyCar isn't doing, anything is completely wrong and not fair, and it doesn't really help in any way. I dare F1s to go around a super speedway and see what happens if they ever hit a pole in the fence. Because last I checked, somebody hit a wall. It was Kubica a while back, and we could see his feet. So, I think it's just too easy. And again, it doesn't help in any ways. I think if you look at the safety of the car this year compared to the safety of the car when I broke my pelvis last year, I probably would not have broken my pelvis last year if what's in the car now would have been there. So yeah, there are a lot of advancements that are being made. That tub is being significantly reinforced and enhanced through the years since 2012. And there's a big thing that he forgets is that obviously all the FIA tracks that the F1 goes to, they basically mandate all sorts of things. And they spend tens of millions on those tracks. If we had that budget, trust me, there'd be a lot of things that we would do. But unfortunately, you got to be realistic with the economics as well of the sport. And it's not that we don't want to fix everything, but there's just so many things you can fix and some things you can't. And that's where obviously you got to decide for yourself as a driver if you want to play the game or if you don't want to play the game. We all know the risks. We don't like it to feel that sometimes we're exposed and stuff, but I think for now the best response is to take care of each other more than thinking about an alternative fence, which none of the tracks other than maybe Indy can make some changes. So, it'll take time for sure. But, everybody needs to understand, catch fence was not meant and designed to protect us. It's to protect you. So, let's be very clear on that.
And on that positive note, have you had all the metal removed from your body from last year? And if not, what is your TSA experience, Mr. Bionic
Heck no.
Man? Oh, you too?
No. I would show you if it was not obscene what the X-ray looks like. And trust me, you do not want to touch that stuff because I would look like a pierced boat.
2 days
and
after
that would
his
be
crash,
my rear end. So
he pulls his pants. He doesn't just show. He's like, I know more about him than I should. That's all I'm saying. But you were high on something, so we love you.
I don't know. Yeah, when you came at the hospital, for sure I was high. Yeah, that's pretty clear.
We're going to let our friend E.C. Mueller go. He's got great things to do to keep this track going for tomorrow's race.
Thank you. And if you like today, go home, call a friend, bring him tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. Thank you.
And we're going to bring somebody up, dear friend of the sport, Mazda Motorsports Director John Doonan. This is the final weekend of Mazda sponsoring the Mazda Road to Indy. This is the man who has made it happen. And he deserves that applause. Before we get to John, let's talk to our Toowoomba madman here. You have been on a tear lately. It's like you don't want Scott Dixon or Alexander Rossi to win the championship. What's going on, Power? You're not very nice.
It's not that I don't want them to, I just want to. But it's been, I've had 5 DNFs this year, so really that makes it very hard when you get to this part of the season when everyone's on their game to close that points gap. I would have thought with the first, second, and third in the last 3 races that you would have closed it a bit more, but old Dixon and Rossi have just been so solid, man. I mean, they're there every time in the top 3. So, we basically need to win the next 2 races to win the championship. So we know that, it's kind of, you have no other focus but to be aggressive and take risks on strategy. So that's what we're doing right now.
I've seen the script for tomorrow's race. You come out okay, just so you know. You're going to be all right.
If only, man.
John, can you give us a quick rundown of how many drivers that are currently in IndyCar that have used the Mazda Road to Indy to propel themselves to where they are?
Yeah, I mean, to follow the Indy 500 winner here is a pretty special deal. So back in Indianapolis in May, when Will scored his first win, there was 25. Yeah, congratulations. There were 25 of the 33 drivers in the starting field that at some point in their career had been part of the Mazda Road to Indy or Indy Lights, and couldn't be more proud of that number. Over the course of this program, the last 11 years, 250 drivers have taken part in the programs of the 3 levels of the Mazda Road to Indy, and this is a bittersweet weekend, more sweet than bitter, but it's been a tremendous run. It's been a dream for myself, my colleagues, Kyle Kimball, Mo Murray, Efren Olivares, Drew Bergwall, the folks that have watched these young drivers hone their skills at these levels and then have a chance to run with the big boys, and it's been tremendous. We've seen it as a pipeline for the next round of talent, and that's why we've invested so heavily.
So the one thing I would love to know a little bit more about, now that we have these 2 gentlemen here who used to leave tire marks on one another, I've heard reports on the internet. Tell us about this rivalry that I know made you better. I think you were already pretty good at that point, but what you guys had, we haven't had an IndyCar since, in terms of a locked-in, year-after-year beasts.
All right, I'm going to spoil it all, let you in a little secret. I think we're actually quite good pals now, aren't we?
We are.
So I said, Willie P, the other day, I was at home, and my mum bought me a mug, and it says on it, Princess. So I sent Willie P this thing. I said, hey man, having my morning tea thinking of you. And he got me back. He sent me one that had a very rude word on it. He said, yeah, thinking of you too. That was it. And I couldn't stop. I said it to my brother, and I said, I think you got me there. I think it was one of those points. We both wanted to win, obviously. Dixon, everybody wants to win, but we got to.
How did you not, bring Paul Tracy or something?
Yeah, that was a good point.
Surprise, see which one was the worst of the 2.
No, I mean with you and PT, absolutely.
Hey, we're good buddies too now.
Yeah, but it's that respect that I always had. That's Mario Andretti, ladies and gentlemen. There was always that respect there, but a lot of times we fought over the same bit of track, and we really always both believed that we were right. My last podium at Sonoma, we were standing up on the podium. Willie Boy had won. He pushed me off. We had a discussion. We were standing there, and they're playing the Australian national anthem. I've got the hat off, and I'm calling him all kinds of stuff, and he's basically telling me to go forth and multiply. But when you have times, when I look back now on those times, I think, bloody hell, guys like him, Dix, Seb, mean, Seb and I didn't get to race together so much, but these are the type of people that make you better. You know, Weld and all these guys. But I think the biggest rivalry was with Willie Boy. It was it was intense.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic rivalry. You know, Dario had a lot of experience. You know, I was fairly new to the game, so you know, I was very good on road and street courses, and Dario was you know, very good on ovals. So I guess he taught me a lot about. I kind of got to this stage in my career, and I can really relate to his situation when he was racing me. You know, there's a lot of young guys coming in now that are very fast and aggressive, but you really feel the experience, you know, and if you can keep the speed there, it's a great part of your career, honestly. So, you know, I could see Dario just had great experience. He could execute so well in a race and during a whole championship, and you know, I feel like I learnt that from him, and I can use that now.
He has a bracelet with his own name on it. Is this so you don't forget your name?
No, actually, that was a kid who had cancer. He actually passed away, unfortunately, but it was a couple of kids that were scouts with this young guy, and they gave me this to wear this weekend, and I took a picture with him, so
how cool.
That's that story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mr. Bourdais, on top of a great qualifying performance today, you're the last guy to win here in an IndyCar. What's different track-wise, and is there any difference in crowd reception?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, you know, a line getting in the track in the morning. We don't necessarily see that everywhere, especially on a Friday and a Saturday. So, yeah, really pumped. I think over the years, it was really one of those places which never really forgot ever IndyCar, Champ Car, you name it. And time again, we'd get, you know, from you guys who obviously probably come to a few different other IndyCar races. When are you guys coming back to Portland and everything? And I guess, you know, the same answer was coming, you know, well, whenever we get, you know, a race again. So, you know, we don't decide, but we'd love to come back. And it's great because obviously the reception of the community and the people has been, you know, very generous. And you guys have come out, so not only you've asked for it, but you obviously answered present, and it's awesome. So thanks for all of you guys to be there today, and probably even more of you tomorrow. And as far as the track is concerned, it's obviously it was repaved in 08 for our return for 08, which obviously kind of happened 10 years later. So we never really ever experienced the new pavement, but it's still quite a bit better than it used to be. I mean, it was a really difficult place to race, mostly because it was extremely rough on tires. There were a lot of patches, which really made it a kind of a one-groove racetrack. You had to hit the patches with your outside tires, and the thing was about a half a foot wide. So it was really a big challenge. So that's all uniform now, and the track, the surface is obviously not new by any means. It's been weathered and everything, but it's still in pretty good shape. And the big difference now, other than that, is they've reconfigured Turn 7, which I think might be a bit of a crapshoot tomorrow. So if you have a seat in the grandstand over there at the start, you might see some action going on there, because it's really wide on entry and very inviting for someone to try something. Although on exit it's about as narrow as it gets, so that could funnel down really kind of a motocross block pass kind of move there. But we'll have to see. And then the curbs are very different, so it's really changed the whole perspective, the usage of the track. We used to really commit to the fast chicane by using that big mound that was kind of uniform and not rough, but kind of high, so you would see a lot of, you know, roll from the car, but it was really helping to open up the line. Now you have a line that's obviously a bit too narrow. I guess I missed it this morning a little bit. And that really wasn't too pretty, so I kind of bounced twice today off the wall and off the situation. So it's got a very different taste to it, and it feels narrower at places and everything. But I think, you know, it's going to be a good day tomorrow, and I'm just happy to be back.
And if you could move over at the start, Will, he'd appreciate that. He didn't want to say that. I don't want to be rude. So, John, this is the final weekend for Mazda's sponsorship of the Mazda Road to Indy, but you're leaving you're leaving some gifts behind. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything I've won in life. I've gotten a cookie or a T-shirt or something. We just had Rinus VK, your new Pro Mazda champion, roll by. Tell us what kind of parting gifts Mazda's leaving Kyle Kirkwood, our USF 2000 champ, Rinus, and also Pato O'Ward.
That's right. So throughout this program, we have been so pleased to be able to offer these young drivers the opportunity to grow their career in Mazdas all the way up to the Verizon IndyCar Series. And this particular weekend, we're going to present a couple $1 million in scholarships. Pato O'Ward.
I'll just take 1% of that. That's all I'm asking.
So Pato O'Ward, Mexican driver, won the Indy Lights Championship. He will be going to the Verizon IndyCar Series next year and at the Indy 500 in May for sure. This race that just ended, the Pro Mazda Championship, was won. The race was won by Oliver Askew, who's currently our scholarship driver. But Rinus VK, a Dutch driver who is coached.
Name.
Yeah, great name. Wore clogs on the podium, so that was pretty awesome. And he has been coached by Arie Luyendyk, so the flying Dutchman 2.0, I would say, is the case. And then Kyle Kirkwood, who won the USF 2000 championship, will receive $325,000 to go to Pro Mazda. So all up, all in, a lot of money spent out by Mazda. But about a year ago at Watkins Glen, Victor Franzoni, who raced in Indy Lights this year, a Brazilian driver, made a comment on the podium, and I think it sums up the whole program, why we did it. And Victor's quote was, Mazda's not just giving money to drivers, they're giving hope. And that is exactly, makes my hair stand up every time. But you know, as a brand, Mazda's a fighter brand. We have terrific road car products. So I know these guys represent some other brands, but if you're looking for a new road car, you need to have a Mazda.
Look at this. He's trying to hawk cars in the middle of the podcast.
What kind of car do you drive?
My wife drives a Mazda CX-9
Thank you.
to work every day, so can't complain.
And I think, Dario, wasn't it a Mazda you and your brother had in the back of the trailer? Yeah? Yeah? But, you know, Mazda's brand is a fighter brand. We have a challenger spirit like none other. But I think this whole program has been about making dreams come true. And that's exactly what we've done, giving young talent, young men and women around the world a chance to pursue their dreams. And, you know, it started out with just drivers, and that's been great. But when you step back, it's engineers, it's race teams, it's people who are pursuing a career in PR or the voices on the TV broadcasts or on the radio. They've all been part of this growing up, and I think that's the most satisfying thing. It's been about people and a common passion for motorsport, and yeah, it's a tough weekend, but a very exciting program that we've been able to provide.
Amen, Brother John. All right, as we start to wind down a little bit, let's get a few final questions. Just again, we've got 9 IndyCar championships, 4 Indy 500s wins represented across these 3 madmen here. Where can we go next?
Thank you so much for coming to Portland. We're thrilled to have you here. So we get to see your families some of the time, and we get to see the joy. What are some of the interesting moments or challenges of having your families on the road with you?
We know plastic bottles get torn up in this guy's pit stall.
Yeah, it's interesting when you bathing the little boy at night. Like, that's something I never would expect to do on a race weekend, but I do that. So it's actually he didn't come to 2 races, and I said to my wife, he just changes too much. I miss him too much, so he comes to every race now. So it's full family affair basically. Got the full family on the road. Got the mother-in-law looking after the little guy, and it's a different life to 5 years ago or so. It's or 10 years ago, but it's great. It's really, really great to go home or go back to your hotel room or motorhome and see your son, and you forget about the day. It doesn't matter what sort of day you have. You come home to your family. that's all that matters, in my opinion.
There's a certain little Miss Franchitti who is the star of someone's Instagram feed. Tell us about fatherhood.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how Dixon does it, because when I was driving, it was just full focus. And I look now and I see the way I feel about my daughter, and I think, how could I get in the car? I mean,
You're just getting old.
Yeah, you know what, brother? You're probably right, but it amazes me every time you see the commitment that these guys do, all the drivers with families. I mean, TK, if there's ever karma in the world, Tony Kanaan and Lauren had a daughter yesterday, which is fantastic, Nina.
They're having like a new baby every week, it seems like. He's going to be paying for college forever.
Why do you think he's still driving? I love it. It's so much fun. Sophia comes to the 500. There's a great picture, actually, of her and Bo playing in the bus lot, and she's got him in a headlock.
Accurate then.
Yeah, exactly. But it's wonderful, and I see Seb's kids, and every time your little boy's out in that scooter, man, and he is flat out, absolutely. And I'm thinking, my friend Hugh has a saying. He said, "You can't breed tame rabbits out of wild ones," and I think that's very true for most racing drivers.
Yeah, obviously, probably most of you have seen my kid trying to steal the show at Mid-Ohio post-race. So, he's definitely on it. Not afraid at all of really anything, which is scary just on its own. And, I mean, obviously, they've moved back to the States with us in 2012, and so they've been around with the motorhome and coming to most of the summer races. And it's just great to have them around. I mean, I think sometimes the hardest thing is to make sure that Claire doesn't lose sanity over it, because it's not easy to have young ones at the racetrack, because they don't really have a whole lot to do. You know, like if they spend like 4 days at the racetrack just playing straight, not doing anything else, when they've done it time and time again, they can drive her up the walls pretty quick. So. It's a fine balance, but she's such a great mother, and takes them to just do stuff and comes back to the track for when things are happening in IndyCar, and so just really blessed to have such a great family, and everybody's healthy, and that's probably the biggest stake of it all.
We pray for her. She puts up with you, so that's pretty awesome.
And she has to put up with my bad mood, because unfortunately I kind of bring it back sometimes. So,
Michael.
All right, so I remember some comments about racing clean and dirty with rivalries. You're right. So I guess my question is, is it any cleaner now than it was then? What is it really like in the championship today, the competition, versus your big rival there?
Yeah, I mean, actually the cars are more raceable than when Dario and I were racing. Like some of the things that happen between us where the wheels get interlocked, they don't get interlocked anymore, so you can take more of a risk passing people, so there are more aggressive moves because the consequence isn't as big. The racing has definitely stepped up a notch. Back then it was very, if you touch wheels, you'd knock a corner off, go flying, so you were more careful, and you wouldn't go for big gap. Well, he did, but Toronto.
If you'd just driven around the outside, would have been fine.
Yeah, so that's it was slightly different, because it's less of an open wheel car. It is still an open wheel car, but it's really smart that they put the floor out there where the wheels have a little bit of a gap between them.
Yeah, I think Will said it all. Really, there's definitely a bit more sort of side-to-side contact goes on now because of the shape of the floor, and you can get away with a bit more. And certainly watching from the timing stand, there's some, it seems more. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but there's a bit more I think aggression that people can get away with.
Let me ask you, Dario, have you enjoyed coaching young Ed Jones? Wherever he is, you are, and vice versa. It seems like that kid is, at least from the outside, listening to what you're saying.
I've really enjoyed working with Fast Eddie. He's He's really funny, actually. He's quite quiet, but you get to know him, and he's really good fun. But he listens, which is not always the case with every young driver, because you've got to have a certain belief, a certain arrogance, a certain belief, I guess, that what you're doing is right. And my job's not really a lot of the time to tell him how to drive. It's to shortcut, use that experience that Will was talking about to try to sort of shortcut the learning process. And he's done really, really well. Did a great job in first group of qualifying today. Not maybe quite so good in the second, but he's still got stuff to work on. But he's a great driver, and I think he's only going to get better with the more time he gets in a car.
On a similar topic, Seb, you have not only young Pietro Fittipaldi, I love that kid, but also Santino Ferrucci. How much of the Papa Bear do you play, and how much do you kind of throw a couple of claws at him, saying, "All right, punks, I'm in charge here"?
Yeah, I mean, it's been my life a little bit ever since I've come back in 2012. I've mostly been paired with rookies and some really fast ones, and I think those two are obviously a good example. And I mean, the big thing for Pietro right now is his leg is hurting him like stink, and he just simply can't hit the brakes hard enough. So that's, I mean, you can relate to that. You've been hurt before, and it's the worst position possible, because obviously he needs the results when you're young. You can't sit out and just say, I'll be back next year. That's not the way it works, because there might not be an opportunity next year. But the problem is, if you don't perform, people think that you kind of don't have it. So it's kind of catch-21.
22.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Actually, it is, and I keep on making the same mistake. I've been reminded of it last week.
Actually, stick with 21, because people think you know something others don't.
Yeah.
That would be cool. No, 21.
But yeah, I mean, so back to the point. Sorry, pardon my French. It's not easy for a veteran driver to be paired with a fast rookie. I mean, because I don't know if you guys have experienced that before, but you kind of the good ones, what they do is they kind of learn and look at the videos and the data and the this and the that, and they really kind of only put it together when comes qualifying. And so basically they get the knives out, and then it's like they're ready to slit your throat. So it's just a little bit of a pain, really, because like you try to be a good teammate, right? And just
we had that with Weldon.
Yeah.
He was the best at that when he was a rookie.
Unbelievable. And it really sucks, because you try to be a good teammate, you try to do your job and not hold stuff and just be a bit of an open book, and then every now and then those little they come out and kick your butt, and it's really annoying, because they just feel as they don't hold anything back, and every now and then you get beat, by just showing them everything and so it's not the best position. Well,
You've shown me everything. It wasn't about racing, though, but that's a different topic again.
Man, I really traumatized you, I feel.
I didn't say I didn't like it.
Well, that's even scary.
I'm from San Francisco. It's all good.
Okay, transition. So yeah, it's not really easy, but obviously they keep you honest and they keep you on your toes. So it's just kind of the name of the game. But it's always better if you're gonna have a teammate, to have an experienced teammate who obviously can really bring stuff to the table rather than just kind of feeding off of you. Interestingly enough, actually, Santino kind of, I think, helped us explore something else, and so I'll thank him on that one, because they kind of went off on their own island on the setup, and the car definitely needs something quite different for the Firestone Reds and the black tires. So I think we probably benefited from it, at least in qualifying.
Will, you were a champion with Team Penske. Place was yours, essentially. When this Newgarden punk shows up, what's it like managing, I don't want to say he's trying to take anything from you, but, this is a place of the veteran having to accommodate a youngster. What's that process been like?
It's actually a very good process and problem to have when you got fast teammates, because, I mean, I'm learning from these guys all the time. Like, you're just picking stuff up, and everyone has a slightly different driving style, and, every you're never going to have every sector on a track. So it's really important, in my opinion, to have tough teammates. It's, I've always enjoyed someone to push me along, and Joseph's definitely,
That's
right
a Tribe
there.
Called Quest song, by the way. Good reference there.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Tribe Called Quest shortly.
Yeah, but it's been good. I mean, we've had 4 drivers. Honestly, when Elio finished, he was at his best ever, like as far as speed on road courses. So he was contributing a lot.
Kicking everybody's butt on ovals and qualifying. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah. And, and Simon obviously was a champion, and Joseph is now a champion. So you learn a lot. We're just constantly learning off each other, and you have to have that. I think if you don't have that, you won't get the most out of the weekend.
I think you can learn from people you race against. I know I was learning from, and since we've stopped butting heads, we've talked about it, we were learning from each other when we were racing against each other week in, week out, how you would take a corner, a particular type of corner, how I would take a particular type of corner. So if you never stop learning, even at the sort of towards the end of your career, you never stop. There's always somebody that does something different and better than you do. So you're always thinking.
The moment you stop learning is when you're not going to win. Simply, you get a real good feel for other people's driving styles. I remember, Dario's very smooth on the brakes, like a very smooth application, and more of a softer application, and which worked very well for certain corners. And some drivers are mega aggressive on brakes, and you use a lot of lock, and there's just so many different ways to do it. But there's only one way that works on each corner. So that's how you put it all together.
Any final questions for our panel? Come on over.
A question for one or all of you. If you could formulate a dream day of any race car on any track, what would it be?
Great question. Let's start with John Doonan. He's a racer himself.
Well, I just happen to have a passion for Formula Fords, and I just restored a 1978 Crosley 32F, and it actually won here in the Rose Cup in June of 1978. I was showing my staff pictures of that weekend, so that car just about on any circuit. Road America is a place where I grew up, so I have a lot of passion for Road America, so I hope to run the Crosley at Road America sometime soon.
Wow. What about you, DJ Willie P?
Actually, I don't think you can beat an IndyCar around a street course like Detroit or something. Like, it's I was thinking about that, and definitely the Champ car when I raced in 07 was probably one of the best cars I drove with the power to weight and tire ratio. But this current car is definitely a lot of fun. Like, I think about the street courses this year, and it's very close to what the Champ car was. So, when you absolutely wringing the neck out of an IndyCar, and they've all kind of had the same characteristics, they've maintained the same tire size and similar horsepower. I mean, there's nothing more fun than that. It's you have to wring its neck to get the time out of it. It's not fingertip driving, and they're a very brutal car, and I just think it's a lot of fun.
You've driven a lot of brutal cars.
Yeah, I think 19, and Will's going to say something about he was still at school and he remembers watching me. 1999 Reynard Honda with the super soft Firestone tires that we used to get. Road America. 139. Yeah, 139 exactly. Road America, Surfer's Paradise. And possibly the old Nürburgring if I was feeling particularly feisty. Just unbelievable levels of mechanical, aerodynamic grip, as near as damned at 1,000 horsepower, and unbelievable drivability. They had such a clever system in that engine. It just went, and it never stopped accelerating. And it was. I've got one in my garage, and I'm trying to persuade Honda to put a live grenade in it so I can go play.
Yeah, actually, I remember watching him at Surface it was 99. Yeah, I was standing on the fence. Actually, I was racing Formula Ford there, but just amazing. Like in fourth gear on cold tires, you'd hear those things light up. It's like, wow. like the ground would shake. Amazing.
All right, so this isn't an IndyCar. We'll get to you in just a second, Seb. Dario, could you please tell our dear audience here one of my favorite stories? It involves a piece of memorabilia you have of a door in your office. Could you tell us the version of your DTM test?
It wasn't a test. I'd already got the gig, and it was a very serious test with a hand-built prototype DTM car that I found out the value of afterwards, because every piece had to be made. We didn't have rapid prototype, and then every piece was handmade. And I was a junior driver, and I did a couple of tests, and they said, okay, this kid seems okay, we'll give him the prototype car for 95. So we went to Hockenheim, the short course. You've probably never been to that one. You can only run from 9 till 5. And we tested all week, 9 till 12. And tested all week, 9, 12, 9, 12. Last day, the team manager wasn't even there yet. I went out, and I'd been complaining of oversteering this flat-out chicane all week. And they put new tyres on, and of course, I oversteered. And I spun, flat in 6. I hit the barriers backwards, the car did that, went over the fence into the trees, and landed, and I mean, it ripped the trumpets out of the...
Concussion number 1.
Yeah, exactly. It ripped the trumpets out of the engine. It was that bad. Snapped the seat, broke the steering wheel. I mean, it was. I almost got fired because on that deal before I'd even started my DTM career. That would have been the end of the whole thing. But the biggest part they could really find was this door. So I have a half carbon door that the test team signed for me and gave it to me. But the rest of the story is the engineers saw the fuel pressure go to 0. And so they thought, oh, God, the car's cut out. So they got in the little van and they drove around. And at the time you would test there, Mercedes would test street cars at the same time. And so one of the test drivers was coming around in an old E-Class, and he stopped and he's like, hey, do you want a lift? And I'm shaking, and I'm like, yeah. So I get in and I drive round. Well, the test team's arrived. They've seen this pile of crap lying there, spilling its fluids out, and they can't find me. So they think I've run into the forest in shock. So they spent half an hour running around the forest calling my name. Well, I was back in the garage getting a bit of a discussion with the team manager. So that was that story. Yeah.
It makes me think there's another one I haven't heard yet. And then they came back to the pits and found him standing there and wondered what the heck had happened. All right, Seb, fantasy time. What are you driving in an IndyCar and where?
Man, yeah, I think Will's right. That 07 Panos was just, for me, it still remains one of the best car I've ever driven. The combination was just really, really amazing, and that would be for me the best memory I have is probably that lap at Road America, which we didn't have 1,000 horsepower, we didn't have the funky tires, but it was still a 40.3 or 40 point something lap, which I brag about that one because I didn't have a heck of 1,000 horsepower in it.
You're almost flat around the carousel, right?
Yeah,
you're almost flat around the carousel.
It was just one of those feel-good moment lap, where you just like, man, that thing just felt perfect. And I think that day we were on pole by a second, which that doesn't happen very often. Yeah, I think everybody was in a bit of a despair after that one, but we felt awesome, so that was great. And I think the second one really, and that wasn't always the case, but the 908 with that diesel engine was just, when it was cold, but like really cold, and we'd do some winter testing at Paul Ricard or something, that thing was literally making 1,000 horsepower, and because the intercooler temperature was just helping build an unbelievable amount of boost, and that thing was just absolutely insane. And it was the only car I've ever driven where obviously you upshifted and got a kick in the butt, because you'd go past the peak torque and go right in it, and it was just an unbelievable car. And so with Michelin we had some kind of special tires because we were developing stuff all the time, and it was just, I remember that one day at Paul Ricard where it was like -2 or 3 C, and it was just like the most power I've ever had in that car, and the most grip, and it was just unbelievable. So it really was meaningless, but it was awesome.
Well, he's got a Renard waiting for a Honda IndyCar in his garage. Sounds like you need a Peugeot 908 in yours there, Seb.
They sold a couple, but man, you need 10 engineers to light these things up. So, and then your neighbors are gonna hate you because when that thing kicks in, it smokes. I remember it was Jean Neveu, the guy who's the manager of the WEC, but he swore like a lot because we stunk his own place, like at Paul Ricard where he was managing the track. When we started the development with that car, every time we'd fire it up, there was always like the high injector pressure and everything, and with the cold temperatures, we could never stop the thing smoking, basically, and especially at the beginning. And we just demolished his whole way. I mean, it just sucked everything right in there and smoked every single room, office, and everything there was around. And you could come back 2 years later, and it was still smelling like, oh my God. Yeah, we were not very popular over there after that.
All right, it is time to let our friends get on. I wanted to save this to the end. I don't have any news updates on Robert Wickens, so this isn't a news moment, but I did want to share. The team pulled me aside and told me Robert sent them a video encouraging them to keep pushing and saying how much he wished he could be there. How awesome. Mr. Doonan, let's get the whole Mazda team up here. You guys deserve some applause, too. Come on up. These guys have put more than $10 million into junior open-wheel racing. Kyle Kimball, Drew Birdwall, Mo Murray, Efren Oliveris, you guys deserve some applause. Come on up, guys. Thank you. And we'll try and get a group photo here. I realize I'm wide, so turn your phone sideways. Try and get a photo here, and I imagine some of our friends might even sign an autograph or two or pose for a selfie or a something. Thank you so much for coming out. You guys rock. You guys really and truly rock. Thank you so much. Seb, you're amazing, brother. You know that. Dario. Power's already gone, I tell you. That guy. Thank you.
And that was our week in IndyCar live at Portland International Raceway, the penultimate round of the 2018 IndyCar season. That was a blast. Just a blast. Hope you enjoyed some of those stories, some of the questions from the crowd as well, and really looking forward to doing more of those in 2019. I don't want to say I'll be doing them at every IndyCar round I'm covering. Keep in mind that I also cover IMSA, so there are conflicts sometimes. I don't get to go to every single IndyCar race, but I think for the most part, if I'm going to be at an IndyCar race, there's a strong probability we will be doing some form of live event. And hopefully we'll get to see you come out for one of the live shows wherever you might be along the IndyCar trail in 2019. All right, I'm Marshall Pruitt. This is the Marshall Pruitt Podcast presented by Cooper Tires. Thank you for listening.